Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you like this episode, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment or two, then subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications of whenever we release new videos. Also, please remember to share them to your social media. Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Today's episode takes us to the RunAmuck Campground near Hyder, Alaska. Hyder is a small town of around 140 people near the Alaska-Canada border. Ketchikan is around 90 miles to the southwest as the crow flies. The elevation in town is only 29 feet above sea level, but mountains surrounding it reach over 8,600 feet at the peak of Mount Otter. The climate here is categorized as an oceanic climate with cool to warm summers and mild winters. Temperatures don't vary broadly here, despite the latitude. Forests here host white, Sitka, and black spruce, western hemlock, paper birch, and quaking aspen, which shelter black-tailed deer and moose, while mountain goats hide amongst the crags and cliffs. Predators here include black bears, gray wolves, and brown bears. A few miles out of Hyder is the Fish Creek Wildlife Viewing Area, which is an improved site designed to offer visitors a close-up view of brown bears as they feed on salmon. The photographers and tourists get up close and personal with the bears with mere feet separating them. Despite being in such close quarters with the bears, there have never been a single bear attack at the viewing site or at the RunAmuck Campground located on the outskirts of town prior to this event. In recent days, a young and smaller 300-pound male brown bear had showed up at the viewing site and created quite a ruckus. Over the prior 10 days, he'd been seen rummaging through garbage bins and scrounging the area for anything he could eat. He was spotted visiting the dump and would surprise locals as they dropped off their refuse. The bear wasn't done with the town even after all of that. At one point, it raided a group of campers and chased them off. Now having sole and exclusive access to their gear and goodies, the bear dug through everything they left behind. Paul Larkin was the operator of the wildlife viewing site and noted the bear's behavior was odd. It seemed more aggressive and opportunistic than the others. Larkin assembled a team to trap the bear and laid out snares and culvert traps. On Thursday, July 13th, 2000, the bear visited the trap, but the mechanism failed and allowed it to escape. On Friday, July 14th, 2000, 41-year-old George Tullos was camping out in a tarp tent at RunAmuck Campground for the summer. He was from Ketchikan and had taken a seasonal job at a local restaurant. Tullos sought out a secluded camping spot so that he could catch some extra shut-eye and away from all the rabble. As he dozed, he would have a dangerous visitation that would lead to George losing his life. On Saturday, July 15th, passersby noticed that George's camp was disturbed and couldn't find him. Stopping to investigate, they found a horrible scene. George's mangled corpse lay near his tarp tent, partially eaten. Authorities were notified, but workers at the local sawmill were way ahead of them. They somehow knew that the young brown bear that had been causing all of the problems was the most likely culprit in George's death. They went hunting for it and found it pawing through the trash at the town dump. Without hesitation, they put that bear down, even without the support of local wildlife officials. Having dispatched the bear, the sawmill workers notified the authorities of where they could find its carcass. A biologist performed a necropsy on the bear and pulled George's remains from its stomach. Also found in its digestive tract were grass and blueberries, indicating the bear wasn't exclusively depending on human trash for its food. After looking around George's campsite, there was no animal cached the bear could have been protecting. And given it was a male, it wasn't protecting cubs. Speaking of cubs, our Cub Tier membership on Patreon, linked below, will give you ad-free early access to our episodes. And the $3 per month goes a long way in helping me continue to produce educational and entertaining content like this. Following George's death, Larkin stated that the community would likely grant the brown bears more respect, despite their seemingly low-key behavior. Prior to this attack, a wildlife officer stated he could only recall 3 other bear attacks in which the victim was consumed in the last 20 years. In 2019, the terrible trend took a startling turn, with 2 people dying in bear attacks in a single year. Each of those attacks are episodes featured on this channel and have been linked to in the video article below this video. Bruce Bartlett worked as a spokesman for the Alaska State Wildlife Division. He maintains that bears perceive humans as more of a threat than as prey. Most people would agree with him, but when they do view humans as prey, the outcome is more terrifying than any Hollywood screenwriter could conceive. After reviewing the facts surrounding this episode, I'm left with a few questions for you. Were the wildlife officers complicit in George's death? Should they have acted more assertively in capturing the bear prior to his death? Why do you think this bear was so much more active than the other brown bears in the area? Would you risk your life sleeping under a tarp tent located a few hundred yards from a bear observation point? I think I'll stick with the RV. I'll gladly read and reply to your thoughts, so please post them in the comments section below, and let's talk about it. Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Today's episode takes us to Carbon County, Montana, just outside a little town called Red Lodge. The town sits at 5,800 feet in elevation, but surrounding mountains stretch to just below 10,000 feet. Precipitation is rare here, with less than 7 inches falling in this semi-arid climate. The county is arguably the driest part of Montana and is covered in sagebrush and grass and is 62% agricultural ground, not exactly what you'd think of when thinking of a bear attack. Rock Creek runs right through town, and along its banks, willow, red raspberry, Virginia strawberry, red berry elder, and Canadian buffalo berry offer up their seasonal delicacy to wildlife and berry pickers alike. The forests of quaking aspen, lodgepole pine, common juniper, common Doug fir, ponderosa pine, and whitebark pine tower along the ridges. Mule and white-tailed deer, moose, pronghorn antelope, elk, and bison wander the meadows, with bighorn sheep and mountain goats dancing their careful ballet on the peaks. The predators here are a murderer's row of North America's most dangerous animals. Black bears, bobcats, Canada lynx, cougars, coyotes, gray wolves, and grizzly bears hunt and make their survival through killing. The area around Red Lodge has had an uptick in bear activity in recent months, even more than usual. It is often ground zero for bear run-ins, but as fall approaches, hungry bears are getting desperate. Driven by hyperphagia, they'll follow their noses into territory they wouldn't normally be. A brief history of bear problems here is a great way to review just how big the problem has grown to be. In August of 2023, a man shot a bear in his living room. In 2021, a yearling bear entered a man's backyard. Worried about the bear becoming habituated, he shot and killed it. He was cited for hunting bears when the season was closed. In 2015, a black bear broke into a woman's car and tore up the inside before jumping through the front window, leaving the car a wreck. A short while ago, a grizzly that had been breaking into businesses and homes was put down by wildlife officers after it broke into a home while the owner watched television. The man shot at the bear but missed. On the evening of August 11, 2024, 3-year-old Madison Finley Dixon was playing and eating with her cousins at a family campout. They were staying in an RV park called Perry's RV Park and Campground just outside of Red Lodge. They'd traveled here from Spokane, Washington, and were camping at a site less than 200 yards from Highway 212. After a day of playing along the creek and running around, little Madison and her 3 cousins settled into the tent they would share for the night. Being so close to town and at a crowded campsite gave her parents a little too much confidence as they decided to store the cooler and food items in the tent with the kids. If you've ever been camping with young children, you can bet they likely left half-empty containers of juice boxes, candy wrappers, and various snack foods lying around. But this area is a very unlikely place to have a visit from a bear, being so busy and close to town. Around 10 p.m., a black bear had picked up the sweet scent of the kids' treats in the air as it searched for food along the creek. Following its nose, it wound up just outside the kids' tent and went completely unnoticed by the adults. As Madison slept, the bear investigated the tent. Upon finding the girl, it either clawed or bit her head, injuring her scalp and inflicting several other wounds.
Because she's a minor, I will not show any of her pictures, but after discovering the attacking black bear, the adults ran the bear off. Gathering up Madison, she was rushed to a hospital in Billings, and her condition has yet to be released to the public. She was allowed to heal at home and released on Tuesday, August 13th. As soon as word of Madison's attack made the rounds, wildlife officers and Carbon County Sheriff's Office cooperated in a closure of the campground and a closure of the surrounding areas. They set up culvert traps and snares in an attempt to catch any bears in the area. By Monday at 8:25 p.m., a subadult female black bear was caught and was immediately killed. From her carcass, wildlife officers pulled DNA samples for comparison and left the traps and snares out to catch any other bears in the area. The bear that was shot was identified as the bear that attacked Madison based on its physical characteristics and its tracks matching those at the scene. They were certain they killed the bear that attacked her, and there would be no other bears found in the area. The young black bear had no previous incidents with people, but had become food conditioned and habituated to humans. The investigators also found the cooler and food wrappers around the campsite. They attributed the attack to the attractants. They stated they have to kill 10 to 12 bears each year who respond to the scent of food and trash remnants of residents and visitors. Last year, there were 80 black bear and grizzly bear incidents reported in Carbon County, but an additional 120 reports of bears invading trash bins pushes that total to over 200 incidents. They conclude by stating that bears that become dependent on people for food are beyond rehabilitation and must be killed. The young bear was not protecting or providing for cubs, so it was responding to the attractants in the tent. Speaking of cubs, our Cub Tier membership on Patreon, linked below, will give you ad-free early access to our episodes, and the $3 per month goes a long way in helping me continue to produce educational and entertaining content like this. Montana has between 13,000 and 17,000 black bears. The state has the highest bear attack frequency of all states in the lower 48. Fatal bear attacks in Montana rival numbers from Alaska. Alaska has many more bears, so the likelihood of a person being attacked by a bear in Montana is much higher statistically. Also, if you're interested in donating to Madison's GoFundMe account to help her parents offset medical expenses, I've posted a link in the video article below. After reviewing the facts surrounding this episode, I'm left with a few questions for you. Are you surprised that such an arid and busy place would be the location of a bear attack? Would you expect a bear to visit your RV campground? Do you think the bear attacked Madison out of surprise at suddenly finding a human near its food, or was it a predatory attack? Do you plan to go camping in a tent this summer? If you do, make sure you don't put your food inside with you. I will gladly read and reply to your thoughts, so please post them in the comment section below, and let's talk about it. Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Today's episode takes us to a town named Morris in Litchfield County in West Connecticut. The climate here is a humid continental climate with hot summers and short, mild winters. The elevation is around 1,025 feet above sea level. Towering red maples, black birch, eastern hemlock, and northern red oak forests shelter the numerous white-tailed deer and the handful of moose that live here. There are berries by the bushel along any body of water. The predators in Connecticut include bobcats, coyotes, Canadian lynx, and black bears. In Litchfield County, there's been an alarming trend in bear attacks, and citizens are getting caught in the crossfire. In June of 2022, a bear broke into a home in Canton and terrorized the homeowner. The bear appeared outside the home and gazed into a window. When the owner tried to scare the bear away, it fled into the trees nearby, but soon returned. Breaking into a neighbor's home, it ransacked the kitchen and somehow carried off several food items. Officials killed the bear because it showed no signs of fearing humans or their dwellings. After euthanizing the bear, 4 little cubs were found nearby in the woods. Around 11 a.m. on Sunday, October 16, 2022, James Butler was enjoying watching his grandson play in his backyard. The elderly man was wheelchair-bound, so visits with his grandson were invaluable to him. He watched as his grandson, whom we'll call Billy, ran around in the grass near the trampoline. Next to Butler's home lived Jonathan Didymus and his family. The Didymus were outside doing some yard work when they saw a large black bear emerge from the stand of trees that butted up to the adjoining lots. He watched warily as the bear stared at him and his wife, but soon turned its head in Billy's direction. Jonathan knew he didn't want this bear to linger, and began making noise to frighten it away. It acted as if Didymus weren't even there, then dashed toward Billy. James was relaxing when he heard Billy yell, "Bear!" bringing him back to reality. He glanced up to see Billy being dragged across the grass by the bear. It had bitten onto the 10-year-old's thigh and was packing him into the woods. Now, I know I've mentioned how protective grandmas are of children, but grandpas can be pretty protective too, even if they are limited in their mobility. James wheeled his chair toward the bear while yelling and screaming a tirade that would make a sailor blush. He grabbed a nearby tire iron, and in the process fell from his wheelchair. Crawling toward the bear, he realized he wasn't making up ground as the bear dragged Billy away. In a last-ditch effort, James threw the tire iron at the bear and hit it in the head. The painful thump of the tire iron on the bear's head forced it to release Billy and retreat a short distance to reevaluate the situation. After a few seconds, it dashed back to the boy and tried dragging him away once again, while Billy kicked and screamed. The bear apparently didn't feel satisfied that he was getting away with the boy fast enough, and started clawing at the boy's back in an attempt to flip him over. That's when the fracas roused Jonathan's attention. He heard the boy's screams and pleas for help. Dashing into his garage, he searched for a weapon and found a big steel pipe a couple of feet in length. Rushing into the butler's backyard, Jonathan slapped the pipe on the ground and yelled at the bear, hoping to scare it away. When his boisterous bluff didn't run the bear off, Jonathan hurled the pipe toward the bear, striking it in the head. It once again backed off several yards and stared at the panicked people. James and his wife helped Billy get back inside their home. Billy was bleeding from his foot and his thigh. He had several claw marks on his back from the bear's attempts to flip him over. As they examined Billy's injuries, the bear made its way up the wheelchair ramp and onto the porch. It glared inside the home ominously and boldly. It was clearly unafraid of people, even after being struck in the head twice by metal bars. The butlers worried that the bear would crash through their screen door. The threat it presented to the family was terrifying and alarming. The butlers called the police, who notified the Connecticut Environmental Conservation Police. They were on scene in only a few minutes, and the bear stood nearby, unfazed by the activity of the officers. They fired their rifles and brought this aggressive bear to its end. An ambulance was summoned to West Street and began first aid immediately to stop Billy's wounds from bleeding. In only a few minutes they had him loaded and were speeding toward Charlotte Hungerford Hospital in Torrington. Upon admittance, Billy's wounds were cleaned and dressed. He received a bite wound to his thigh, foot, and ankle, as well as gashes from the bear's claws on his back. His wounds were not considered life-threatening, and he was given a precautionary rabies treatment, just in case. Now that the bear was dead and Billy was headed toward the hospital, wildlife officers examined the bear. It wasn't tagged, and they had no record of this bear causing any problems. Its carcass was taken to the Connecticut Metal Veterinary Diagnostic Laboratory at the University of Connecticut. An examination revealed the bear to be a young adult male black bear, in excellent health, with adequate levels of body fat. It weighed 221 pounds, and had nuts, berries, leaves, and macaroni in its stomach. The presence of a human-sourced food in its digestive tract proved that the bear had been raiding trash cans, and its behavior indicated it had become habituated to human beings. Among several tests on the bear's carcass, the rabies test came back negative, so it appeared Billy was out of the woods regarding contracting the fatal disease. Officials conclude that Billy's attack was not one of desperation on the part of the bear. It wasn't starving or diseased, nor was it protecting cubs. Speaking of cubs, our Cub Tier membership on Patreon, linked below, will give you ad-free early access to our episodes, and the $3 per month goes a long way in helping me continue to produce educational and entertaining content like this. In 2022, the town of Morris reported 46 bear sightings, and in Connecticut, there were 9,400 bear sightings reported. This year also had a doubling of bears reported as entering homes. By mid-September, 65 complaints of bears entering homes had been reported. In 2017, the state of Connecticut had an estimated black bear population of 600 to 800 bears. Within 5 years, the population had climbed to between 1,000 and 1,200 black bears. The area of Connecticut is 4,841 square miles. That is a bear density of 1 black bear per 4 square miles, including urban areas. For a small state, this is a very high population of bears. Connecticut doesn't currently have a bear hunting season, which would use scientific management strategies to control populations. Citizens are allowed to kill bears in defense of life and property. To avoid being criminally cited, it is recommended citizens contact the Connecticut Environmental Conservation Police for culling of problem bears. After reviewing the facts surrounding this episode, I am left with a few questions for you. Would you consider bringing along bear spray or a firearm for playtime with your grandson in your own backyard? Why would such a healthy and robust bear prey on a child with so much food available? Would you crawl across the ground with an improvised weapon to save your grandchild from a black bear? I will tell you, that bear would think I was possessed by a demon if it got anywhere near any of my family. I'll gladly read and reply to your thoughts, so please post them in the comments section below, and let's talk about it.
Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider clicking on the like button and clicking on the bell icon. We'll help you know when we post our new episodes. Posting our video links to your social media profiles furthers awareness, and it's fun. We slashed our prices in our merch store, linked below, so check out the bargains there while you shop. As a member of our human community, remember to adventure bravely and be careful out there, especially in bear country.